Why hospitals never make money. Imagine running a business. People need your service every day. Customers come through your doors, and some pay thousands of dollars. So you'd think hospitals must be incredibly profitable. But here's the strange part. Many hospitals struggle to make money. Some lose millions. Others operate on thin margins. Even hospitals bringing in hundreds of millions can have little left over. So where does all the money go? Because healthcare doesn't work like a normal business. And once you understand the economics, hospital finances start to make a lot more sense. Let's start with the biggest expense. People. A hospital needs doctors, nurses, surgeons, pharmacists, technicians, cleaners, security, engineers, and administrators. And here's the expensive part. The hospital has to operate around the clock. A restaurant can close at midnight. A store can close at 9 p.m. A hospital can't tell someone having a heart attack, "Sorry, we're closed." So hospitals need staff available 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Those salaries add up quickly. But people are only the beginning. Hospitals also need equipment: MRI machines, CT scanners, X-rays, ventilators, operating rooms, laboratories, monitors, ambulances, surgical equipment. Some cost hundreds of thousands or millions, and buying them isn't the end. They need maintenance and upgrades. They break, become outdated, and eventually have to be replaced. So a hospital can spend millions before treating a single patient. But here's where it gets interesting. Hospitals don't necessarily get paid what they charge. Imagine you go to the hospital and receive a bill for $10,000. You might think, the hospital just made $10,000. Not necessarily. The bill and what the hospital collects can be very different. Healthcare payments often involve insurance companies and government programs. A hospital might bill $10,000, but an insurer may have negotiated a much lower reimbursement rate. If a patient has no insurance, the hospital may never collect the full amount, sometimes nothing. So that massive number on a medical bill isn't automatically profit or even money the hospital will receive. Then there's another problem: emergency rooms. Imagine running almost any normal business. If someone can't pay, you can refuse to sell them a product. A supermarket can say, "You don't have enough money? You can't buy this." A hospital emergency department doesn't have that luxury in the same way. Someone arrives after a car accident. Someone is having a heart attack. Someone is bleeding or unconscious. The hospital has to provide emergency care before it knows who will pay. And that creates a unique economic problem. Hospitals must treat people, even when payment isn't guaranteed. Now, think about something else. A hospital can't simply run at 100% capacity all the time. Imagine a hospital has 500 beds. It can't keep every bed occupied. There needs to be capacity for emergencies, outbreaks, major accidents, and sudden surges in patients. That means hospitals have enormous fixed costs, even when demand isn't high enough to use everything. The building needs electricity. Equipment needs maintenance. Staff still needs to be paid. The emergency department must stay ready, busy or quiet. Then there's something people rarely think about: administration. Healthcare creates enormous amounts of paperwork: insurance claims, medical records, billing, compliance, legal requirements, licensing, IT systems, patient scheduling, quality control. Hospitals need teams to keep the financial and regulatory machinery running. They may never treat a patient directly, but without them, the hospital couldn't function. Now, look at the numbers differently. Imagine a hospital generates $500 million in revenue. That sounds enormous. You might think, surely they're making a fortune. But then the expenses arrive. Hundreds of millions for employees, millions for equipment, medicine, buildings, electricity, and maintenance, insurance, administration, technology, debt, and countless other costs. Suddenly, that $500 million doesn't look quite so impressive. Because revenue isn't profit. Profit is what's left after everything else is paid. A hospital can have enormous revenue and very little profit. Some even lose money. But the story gets more complicated. Not every hospital is trying to maximize profit. Some are non-profit. Others are government-owned. Even for-profit hospitals operate differently from ordinary businesses. You can't simply decide, this service isn't profitable, so let's stop offering it. What happens when that service is emergency care, or intensive care, or trauma treatment? Hospitals often provide expensive services because people need them. That's why healthcare economics looks so strange. A hospital might make money from one service and lose money on another. One department can be profitable while another loses money. The hospital has to keep both running. Here's the biggest misconception. People see a hospital bill for $50,000 and assume hospitals are getting rich. A $50,000 bill doesn't mean the hospital made $50,000. It doesn't even mean it collected $50,000. And it definitely doesn't mean $50,000 became profit. There are costs at every stage. And that's the lesson. Healthcare can have enormous prices without enormous profits. Asterisk, asterisk. Hospitals are expensive because the system itself is expensive. Highly trained workers, massive buildings, advanced technology, 24-hour operations, emergency capacity, insurance systems, unpaid bills, administration, all of it costs money. So why do hospitals never seem to make money? The answer isn't that hospitals lack revenue. They generate a lot. The problem is that running a hospital is incredibly expensive, and the money coming in doesn't automatically belong to it. That money has to cover everything behind the scenes. So the next time you see a hospital bill for thousands, don't immediately think, the hospital just made a fortune. Ask, after everyone gets paid, how much is actually left? Because in healthcare, the money coming in is only half the story. Asterisk, asterisk. If you enjoyed this breakdown, subscribe to the Ledger Line, because there's an economy hiding behind everything we see.